to Season 1, Episode 7 of the Grave Consequences podcast. I am Caleb B., and that is where you can follow me on Twitter. You can also follow the show on Twitter at GC_cast. Hit up our Gmails. Hit us with feedback, constructive criticism. Again, everything except dick pics. Send all of that to the Grave Consequences podcast at gmail.com. And I am joined, as always, by the one, the only, the man known as Maserati. Today is October 8th, the day we're reviewing this. Maz, how are you today, my man?
Doing pretty good, man. Work's over. I enjoyed the episode that we're about to review. Life's good, I guess. How are you doing?
You enjoyed it more than me. I'm doing great, man. I mean, I told you all the date, so some of y'all know already. Of course, by the time this comes out, we could already be eliminated from the next round, but the Braves have moved on to the NLCS. This is the first time they've made the pennant in 19 years. I was 7 years old the last time they were there. So I am very excited for that. I'm going to be completely honest, and you might hear it throughout the episode. I was not big on this episode. There were parts of the show that I really enjoyed, but other parts of this really dragged on, and it just took me out of it to a degree, to be completely transparent with you guys. So today we're reviewing Season 1, Episode 7 of Lucha Underground. The title of the episode is Top of the Ladder. This, of course, in reference to the main event, three-way ladder match. First thing we see, though, after the recap, first thing we see inside the temple, Trejo, Machete. That's the first celebrity cameo in the crowd. What did you think of seeing Danny Trejo in the temple?
First thing I thought about was one of my favorite movies. I'm not sure if it's a guilty pleasure movie or if it's genuinely a good movie because I never hear anyone talking about it. But I remember when Johnny Depp asked him in Once Upon a Time in Mexico if he's a Mexican or a Mexican. And that's the first thing I always think of.
Yeah. That's great, man. I of course remember him as Machete and as like a character actor. As like, oh, if you need a hard-looking Mexican older gentleman, hire Dan Trejo. And he gets a lot of those roles, man.
He got so popular in that typecasting that he was actually in one of the, I consider it a wrestling game, but Def Jam Fight for New York. He's in that.
Amazing. And he was in Rob Zombie's Halloween. He got killed by Michael.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
He was like the guard at the
he was the janitor
at the loony bin that was like always nice to Michael, tried to make a friend to him. Like, it's one of those kills where you're like, oh, you really got to kill this guy?
Yeah, they make a pretty good case that he's basically empty on the inside, and that's why he's a killer. And his, dad was Rob Zombie, who was a dick.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about that frickin' hack director Rob Zombie. Let's talk about King Cuerno versus the debuting in Lucha Underground, Superfly. This match, for the most part, was a squash, man. Did you notice that?
It was very one-sided. Very one-sided match I guess they're making up for the fact that Cuerno lost the first match he debuted in, but it was pretty one-sided. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I did notice, because Superfly had trouble getting advantages. He nailed a head scissor on Cuerno, but Cuerno very quickly took control back. And that was just one snuffing out of the comeback there. And Cuerno later does a sick, just flat-footed standing drop kick. Like, it was beautiful.
Cuerno is one of my favorite wrestlers in Lucha Underground, bar none. Very underrated. And his fighting style in the ring it's just fun. It reminds me of, like, I know he's he who shall not be named, but you remember how vicious Chris Benoit was in the ring, how stiff and how snappy his moves were. And that's what Cuerno reminds me of his style. And it's, it's violent and ruthless, and it's, it's refreshing to see someone just go in there and just whoop some ass, like almost like Mill.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, Cuerno is very refreshing. He kind of reminds me of Santos Escobar for some reason.
I can see it.
By the way, who knows? On a serious note, though, how was Santos and Swerve from TakeOver?
Well, I know everyone else liked it, and I'll probably edit this out so I don't get crucified, but
Oh no, keep it in. I'll take the hate for you. It's no big deal.
I don't know if you can do that, but you know me, dude. I love Swerve. I've told you before that one of my favorite matches involves him and another wrestler, AR Fox, that comes up in I think the third season. It's like an insane match. I remember I even tweeted Solo Monster saying like, "Hey, have you seen this match?" And it's one of those few times people respond to you. He's like, "No," and I was like, "You need to watch this match." And he even mentioned it on the air, like how crazy it was, because it is a crazy match, but. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go back and rewatch it. Maybe I was in a bad mood, but it just did not seem like the best match for either of them. And I know people were saying that the ending was botched. The ending didn't really bother me because you don't really want to. I'm not going to spoil it, but they kind of make it look like there was an injury. But it just did not seem like the best match. I just feel like I've seen way better in Lucha Underground between the two of them. And to be fair, there's a lot of editing in Lucha Underground in the matches, but. It wasn't a bad match. I just remember everyone else in the group chat was, loving this pay-per-view, and I enjoyed it, but I just did not. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it as much as everyone else.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Oh, I also noticed during the match on commentary, I believe it was Vampiro mentions after I believe Superfly does the in and out that Mysterio does on the 619. When he's hitting boots to faces. That was actually because I didn't know. I didn't think Mysterio just created the move. That move was created by Super Astro back in the day, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean the announcers we give them a lot of crap, deservedly so, I believe, like especially Vampiro and Met Striker early on. But they do drop some like pretty cool fun facts with about lucha wrestling, like history, about different wrestlers and even fighters sometimes. That's really cool. We just get on their case when they just say nonsense or they just outright lie. But yeah, they dropped some pretty cool and interesting facts, and this was one of them.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to mention that early on we see Drago perched from the roof of Dario Cueto's office, stalking King Cuerno like King Cuerno did to Drago a few weeks back. This has no effect on the match, of course, because King Cuerno is just too much of a warrior for Superfly. Cuerno nails his Michinoku driver, which, by the way, I was mistaken, is at this point not called the Thrill of the Hunt. It's called the Big Game. But he hits that Michinoku driver on the Aztec seal while looking right at Drago for the 1, the 2, and the 3. And that is a statement win if ever there was one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you would rate this match highly. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it's hard to rate like
it is crazy. Hard to rate. I'm sorry to cut you off. It is hard to rate because it's too one-sided.
Yeah, because you don't really see. It's one of those matches where the other guy's not kind of allowed to show everything he can do. Because Superfly's pretty good. He's not it's not the ace of the company by any means. That's Fenix, or Puma maybe. It's arguable. Yeah. I really don't know who it is between the two of them, but he can do better than what you saw in this. He had to go in there and lose. You could tell, it's like, okay, make Cuerno look like a freaking god, and and in that way he's good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely shown out as an enhancement talent for sure. But right after this match, we get a vignette for Pentagon Jr. This is basically like a background on the Pentagon character. It mentions he grows up in Mexico, where he was fighting a little bit, but to truly become a warrior, he had to go to Japan, and he couldn't use weapons, so he had to learn how to fight with just his hands. And he had mentioned, the way of the samurai. Not everyone was afforded this opportunity, so he had to go learn the dark arts on his own. And I love that, we see Pentagon training here like a badass, of course. This vignette is the first time we see Pentagon break an arm in the series. The first of many, by the way.
Yes, it becomes a staple of his. And, it wouldn't be terrible if he brought it back in AEW. Put people on the sidelines with some broken arms. This is the part where they start showing how effective his vicious style is. They weren't able to show it because if you break someone's arm, they can't do anything else. So he hasn't been able to show that while fighting Fenix. But it's coming up. He's going to start fucking some people up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So next up after this, we had the Pentagon vignette. We are shown Pentagon accompanying Chavo Guerrero Jr. to the ring for his match against Fenix, who's accompanied by Sexy Star. So it looks like that feud is still continuing, unfortunately for everyone besides Chavo. I noticed, and you noticed as well, the crowd was split here. They were chanting, "Let's go Chavo, let's go Phoenix." And I chalk that up to just a familiarity with Chavo Guerrero. Like, oh, Chavo Guerrero has the WWE, the WCW clout, so we've got a respect for him. But my God, looking back on this with 2020 vision, pun intended, this looks bad on the crowd's part, as it were.
You know what, even back then, when I was watching Lucha Underground, I just don't understand why this could have been 50-50 for Chavo, because Chavo just, I mean, there's nothing wrong with him as a wrestler, but Phoenix is, I mean, we've already established Phoenix is awesome. Him and Puma are some of the best in the promotion at this point. What's Chavo going to do against them? Like, I mean, Chavo hasn't really, he does some moves I like in this match, and I was telling you about that before we started recording, that I've respected and loved, but, you know, cheering for him, he's the heel one, so I'm thinking maybe it was a smart crowd, and they were just, yeah, I think that's the only non-insane answer to this as to why, because I just wrote down it was blasphemy. I was like, what's going on? Is it piped in? Is this one of those effects where they added in afterwards? Because I don't see how you do that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I noticed during this match, and it hasn't happened a lot, if at all, so far in the series, but Vampiro is calling this match like a traditional heel color commentator. Did you notice that as well?
Oh, crap, I forgot to write that, but I did notice that. I was like, oh, he's supposed to be an asshole. That's why he's terrible.
Like,
you know?
He's actively rooting for Chavo to win throughout the match, which he's never done before.
No, I think they might have actually sat him down and were like, okay, you can't tell him he's a piece of crap during interviews and be the good guy. You gotta actually put the heels over, Vampiro, not yourself. You know, his meds that day. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely know. God. Yeah, he was doing his job as a commentator for once, and not just being like putting himself over at the expense of other people.
Yeah, I noticed, and this match was a lot of legwork. I noticed Chavo got him in the single leg Boston Crab. Phoenix had to crawl for the rope. Pentagon pulled it back, but to no avail, because literally 3 seconds later, Phoenix gets the rope anyway. So that kind of made me chuckle. Later, I think not immediately after, but shortly after, Chavo takes Phoenix's legs and wraps him around the ring post, and again slams that already hurt left leg into the ring post. So again, even more legwork. Did you notice Phoenix's weird, I don't even know what you call it. It was just like a pure like corkscrew onto the Rudos on the outside.
I wrote it down as a corkscrew crossbody.
Okay, that works. Yeah, it works. Yeah.
That's the only way I know how to describe it. Oh, tope.
Yeah, yeah.
Corkscrew tope.
Yeah. That's one way to describe it for sure. I also noticed Phoenix goes to dive in to probably hit another crossbody on the inside of the ring shortly after this, but eats a drop kick for his troubles. And it was a really beautiful drop kick, I will say that.
Yeah, that was the move I really loved of Chavo's, because it just looked awesome, and it really, like, it sounded great, and it looked like it just messed him up. It was, it was different than his normal wrestling. It was like a genuine high spot. It wasn't like WWE wrestling, which I liked.
Oh, by the way, Chavito hooks the leg, and Matt Striker puts that over.
Yeah, I you know how I feel about that. I don't know how legitimate it is, but yeah, they're sticking with it.
I don't know. I've never bumped before or done any shoot grappling, so I honestly wouldn't know.
Me either.
Later on in the match, yeah, I'm not sure, but later on in the match, Sexy Star, I believe, inadvertently distracts the ref, or the referee is looking at Chavo Guerrero and Sexy Star. Sexy's on the outside. All the while, Phoenix is on the top rope. He gets tripped by his brother, Pentagon, and taken off of the top rope. And Chavo nails a frog splash, and Chavo just beat Phoenix. So 2 weeks in a row, the Lucha Brothers taking pins, man.
It's crazy. I guess I even blocked it out of my memory because I didn't even write that down. I was sitting here thinking like, oh yeah, that's the one Phoenix one, and you just reminded me. No, you did. I mean, it was a cool looking frog splash. There was nothing wrong with that
Yeah,
finish. It's just,
it was a beautiful frog splash for sure.
yes, it was well done. It put him out. I kind of like that a frog splash won a match. Usually wrestlers do like so many wrestlers do the frog splash in memory of him, but they never pin anyone. And I kind of hate that.
Well,
So
typically the rule is unless you're Eddie Guerrero or Rob Van Dam, you don't win a match with a frog splash.
is it really? I would think it would be more of an honor to win the match with their move.
No, I agree. I agree, but I'm just saying that just doesn't happen in wrestling.
Is that the reason why?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought you like had insider knowledge as to
No,
why.
no, dude. I'm a Mizark like you are, man.
Oh,
I
thank
got
God.
I got no insider info on here.
I mean, it would make sense if that's the reason. I just genuinely, I'm like, okay, frog splash. They're not going to pin them, and it should be. I mean, I like what I kind of like it. Like this is why I like Stardom. James got me into Stardom. People will get pinned from like a tiger driver or a tiger suplex or a clothesline or because if you got hit with those moves, like it would hurt. Why can't
Yeah.
it pin you? I like it when regular
Yeah.
moves pin people.
Well, it's not only that, but the Tiger Driver and the Michinoku Driver and even the Frog Splash, they may even be described as quote unquote regular moves, but one, they look cool. Two, they look like they would actually hurt. And three, for some reason in North America, they just never win off of those. It just doesn't happen.
And you know what? They're not even regular moves. They are every move in wrestling is a move that would hurt you if it happened in the street. Like
Exactly.
if someone did
Well,
a vertical suplex, the thing that no one ever gets pinned out of, you could break your back, you could break a hip. I mean, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt real bad.
dude, if you took a clothesline on the street, you'd be like coughing up blood for the next. If you took a shoot clothesline, you'd be at least on the borderline of coughing up blood.
I remember as a kid there was like this rumor. I'm not sure how true it is, but some kid clotheslined their brother or something, or friend, because they were watching a Ric Flair match, and they did a clothesline. They hit him in the neck and they broke his neck. I mean, I don't know how
Oof.
true. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a true story. But these moves. I think when you do all these moves and uh, they don't put someone away, it does damage to how impactful the move is. Like in New Japan, the common thing that people would talk about. Like I remember Jeremy and Josh were talking about Jeff Cobb, how he's in the G1, he does all these big moves, but he wasn't winning, so he wasn't really getting over. Well, if you're the monster and you do like a monster move and it doesn't pin someone, what are you? Like your moves, you're basically, what are you, weak? Why didn't that move? If I do
Yeah.
like a double power bomb and you don't get pinned, what's happening? How did you put him down too lightly? Like if I do a tour of the islands and you don't get pinned, what's the deal?
Yeah.
That's your whole gimmick is that
That's
you do power. Imagine Cage not putting people away with some of the stuff he does. It'd be like, all right, well,
yeah.
you're a big strong guy, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's great. No, like I completely understand where you're coming from, but I just don't get why we're spending so much time on Jeff Cobb on a Lucha Underground podcast. That doesn't make sense to me, man.
Yeah, there's
Um,
nothing to tie back for it. I apologize for that.
why the hell would we talk about Jeff Cobb on here? Um, right after right after the match, Sexy Star grabs a microphone. She says, hey, he's back for you. He's coming back for you, pendejo." Which I looked it up. That means stupid.
It's worse than stupid, but
That
basically, yes.
that's what
If you get
Google translated it to.
That's what it literally means. But if a girl calls you pendeo, there's some added like insult to it. Like it's one of those things where
Okay.
if someone, yeah, it's like it means that, but it's worse. Like disrespect. It's like you are a stupid piece of
Yeah.
crap. Pinche is
So
pretty bad
after,
too.
yeah, yeah. So we had a vignette for the man they call Cage. Here's what I wrote down. He's strong. I'm not a man. I'm a machine. They call me Cage. That's about what I got out of this. But I know what's coming, and I'm very excited.
It's the promo that gets right to the point. Their packages are great.
Yes,
we
they
got two of
are.
them.
Yes, they
We
are.
got Pentagon and we got Cage, and they're both pretty awesome packages. I mean, I know we talked about Mundo's not being that great, but these were.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Which Cage was like one of my first favorites in Lucha Underground, so I'm very excited to see because I just love the way he debuts too, man. Like it's an iconic debut in professional wrestling as far as I'm concerned.
I can't wait to see it again because I don't remember it.
Ooh, it's it's a star-making moment in my opinion. I want to talk about the main event, but before we do that, let's talk about something else real quick, folks. Today's episode of the Grave Consequences podcast is brought to you by ProWrestlingTees.com/social suplex. Go to that link on your Google machine. Find every bit of Social Suplex Podcast Network swag you could ever dream of. You will not regret making that purchase. And now, let's go to the main event. All right, so time for the main event. This is a three-way ladder match between Johnny Mundo, Prince Puma, and Big Ryck. One thing I noticed, okay, Big Ryck is built from the City of Angels. Johnny Mundo, I believe, is built from Hollywood, California, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
And Prince Puma is built from Boyle Heights. Fun fact, literally all three of these places are in LA.
I was just thinking that as you were saying that. It's not that far apart.
Well, the City of Angels is literally just a nickname for LA. So, I mean, that kind of cracked me up. Also, and I don't want to go over play-by-play because I want people to see this match because even though I thought it dragged a little in certain parts, there were other things that I really want y'all to see, like Big Ryck being a monster. Big Ryck, by the way, at one point, Big Ryck gorilla presses Prince Puma from inside the ring through a ladder that was positioned from a table to the apron of the ring.
And it breaks.
Yeah, it was hardcore. It reminded me of, if you remember, Money in the Bank 2011. Sheamus did a Irish Cross or Irish Curse backbreaker to Sin Cara. That was his write-off for a suspension. Reminded me of.
See, I was thinking ECW because that looked like it sucked.
Oh, I did mention. Oh, by the way, Vampiro at one point accidentally or on purpose says Man Mountain Rick, which reminded me of the best 1990s wrestling gimmick.
What was that?
That's Man Mountain Rock, as it were. Look it up, folks.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Only thing I noticed on the commentary was when, and I was going to tell you this, where Matt Stryker said, even though the briefcase isn't airbrushed, you can tell it's important because it's been above the ring the whole time.
Dude.
Yeah, that was shade at WWE. I mean,
okay, and like I'm not here to be like, oh, don't talk bad about WWE, like, but sometimes it just comes off as like insecure.
Well, when you build yourself up by cutting other people's down, even though WWE is punching up, when someone builds themselves up by punching or cutting someone else down, to me, I notice it because you see that a lot in gyms. Like if you go to a boxing gym or you go to any kind of martial arts, if the place is bringing themselves up by cutting other disciplines down or other nearby gyms, there's either a rivalry or they're not as good as they say they are because they're almost insecure about it. I don't like that because it's a bad sign when people do that.
Yeah. So I noticed throughout this match, they were going to inspire the James Ellsworth finish from Money in the Bank 2017 because Big Ryck was content having the crew climb the ladders for him. Because, surprise, surprise, someone the size of Big Ryck weighing 300 pounds at least on these rickety ladders is not going to turn out very well.
Dude, I'm short and I'm pretty light. I'm like 145 pounds and I don't trust ladders. I thought that was smart.
No, yeah.
I hate ladders.
I agree.
I thought that was genius on his part. Like, why not? There's no rule against it.
Okay. Matt Stryker did something I really like. It always makes me cringe. So he referred to Big Ryck as the urban thing.
Oh, I hated that too.
What he did here, He did the old like, oh, I don't know if I can say black, so I'll just say urban instead. Like, come on, dude.
It shows you. I think this lucha is a product of its time. Where like back then, I think if you were unfortunately, if you were a black fighter, you had to be from the hood. Back then, like we're talking, what year was this out?
2014.
I think we were still stuck in that mentality where like if I think anyone that was big and tough, you had to be from the hood. There's no other way for you to be big and tough. Nowadays, you don't have to be from the hood. Like your character doesn't have to be from that, but he's got the gangster motif. He's got the I need it in cash, gimmick, and it's played out already at this point, I think. And I don't know. I hate that term, urban.
Oh, one more thing.
Okay.
It is. It's just one of those like, oh, I'm too afraid to say black, so I'll just say urban instead. Like, chill. just don't say urban. Some things are better left unsaid.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my god. I noticed that Big Ryck hits a Uranagi right on the Aztec seal. So again, more finishers on the Aztec seal. Hits that on Mundo. Later on, Big Ryck takes 2 ladders. He's going to climb 2 ladders. Mundo not having it. Mundo. Did you notice Mundo shaking the ladders as he was climbing?
I thought that was an awesome touch because you could tell Ryck didn't like it, and he was doing it to make him off balance. I like little things in fights that make sense. Like earlier in the Superfly versus Cuerno match, Cuerno does a shoulder bump to push Superfly back, I think, so he could run back against the ropes to create space. I like little things in wrestling matches that make sense almost in real fights, but they're just little tiny things that you won't notice unless you're paying attention. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. So eventually, Mundo ends up using the ladders to crotch Big Ryck and gain some clearance here. But then this guy comes out in camouflage cargo shorts. That's what I was trying to say. Camouflage cargo shorts, random black shirt, and a mask. Looked like a Pentagon mask. Started attacking Mundo. And then he runs off, directs traffic for the Rudos, the crew, and Big Ryck again. I noticed Johnny was trying to get in the ring. Big Ryck was not having it. He was just, at every turn he possibly could, he was aiming to punch Mundo, and Mundo would get too close. Eventually this comes back on him. The crew, for whatever reason, climbed ladders at the speed of grandmothers. Did you notice that as well?
I think I noticed that in every cage, in every ladder match, in every wrestling promotion, and it drives me nuts.
Yes.
All the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Me is too. If you want to make your ladder matches and your cage matches last longer, book it in a way where someone doesn't have to climb at a snail's pace.
Like if they have
my one piece of advice to any promoters listening.
Like if they have if you work the leg or there's some kind of story where there's a reason why they're slow, like even stupid ones where the guy's scared of heights, like the Rhino versus the AJ match in TNA where they're on that giant X above the ring. Even though it's corny, at least there's a reason why it's slow. But when it's just like, all of a sudden they're, new to ladders, then it's kind of like, all right, I know you're eating time and it sucks. It's the rest hold.
Yeah. So eventually Mundo finds his way in the ring, takes out Big Ryck, takes out the crew off of the ladders, climbs the ladder, grabs the briefcase. Johnny Mundo. He is 2-0 in matches involving not only Big Ryck, because he did beat Big Ryck by DQ, but also Prince Puma. So that's worth noting. He's $100,000 richer. All of a sudden, Dario Cueto looks like he wants to bury the hatchet on his terms, of course. He congratulates Johnny, says, you've got your money. Now give me the insurance policy. He wants his key back. By the way, the key was chilling on the ring post the whole time. Why the crew didn't take that, who knows? Whatever. Have it your way, I suppose.
Supposedly they work for Big Ryck, not for Cueto. Remember, he said that, so maybe that is true.
Yeah, I trust Dario Cueto as far as I could throw him.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So Cueto wants his key back, and then they'll be square. But he's like, by the time he gets in the ring, he is like demanding that Johnny put it around his neck. So not only does he want the key back, he wants to emasculate Johnny in the process. He wants to know, like, okay, even though you beat the Crew and you beat Big Ryck, I still own you. I'm still above you. And Mundo's not having it. So he takes the key and just clocks Cueto right in the face, man. This was nice. This was great euphoria for fans of babyface wrestlers, as far as I'm concerned.
Cueto's a good actor because he went down hard.
He did, too. He did.
Almost
the only thing I think would have made it better is if... The only thing that would have made it better, in my opinion, is if Cueto would have bladed. But, you know, maybe choose. I'm just saying, you spin it the right way. Say, like, oh, one of those edges on that key hit Cueto in the wrong spot, and now he's gushing. But whatever.
Good, maybe. Maybe he just didn't want to do it. He's not a method actor.
I wouldn't blame him. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to blade either, but I'm saying as a viewer, I would have liked to have seen him blade.
Oh, no doubt.
So folks, that's the show this week, man. That's season 1, episode 7. We've got just one episode between us and Aztec Warfare. We may, I can't promise anything, but we may have a guest lined up for that episode. No promises made whatsoever.
None.
But yeah. So we're gonna do what we always do. We're gonna give this a rating from 1 to 10. Greg, I will let you start.
Well, first, let me ask you, at this point, is Johnny Mundo the ace of Lucha Underground at this point?
Well, okay, here's the thing. At this point, yes, Johnny Mundo is the ace of Lucha Underground. And don't forget, we are the ace of podcast. That's just truth, right?
Yeah, I didn't ask that because I already knew. But, you know,
well,
as far as
of
Lucha Underground.
Course. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Johnny won't have that. Johnny, as you and I know, Johnny probably won't have that title for long. But yes, at this point, Johnny is the ace of Lucha Underground.
And that's not because he gets worse. It's just because other people get better.
Mm-hmm. Better, they get more exposure, for sure.
But yeah, I was actually higher on the show than you were this week. We were talking about that before we recorded.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a... I'm going to give it... I was actually going to give it higher, but I'm actually going to give it a 7.5.
Oh my God, that's really gracious in my opinion.
I almost gave it an
8. Again, there was nothing technically bad about this show, but 2 of the 3 matches had spots where they really dragged. And to me, you're always going to get points off for that. And for that reason, I am good. And by the way, the 2 of 3 matches that dragged were Chavo and Fenix and the main event. That being said, I am going to go a wholesome 5 out of 10 on this week's episode.
Wow. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You were hyping up this episode last week.
Here's the thing. I was so excited for the ladder match, man. I really was. And then the shenanigans were just too drawn out, you know?
And, you know, you can't, and this is why I don't tell people why they're wrong with how they're rating, even if I disagree with them, because it's all about how you absorb the show. Because I think you asked me earlier about TakeOver. I'm probably going to get crucified for that, but you know, it's all about how you absorb it. Because for me, it felt like the show flew by. When we got to the main event, I was like, "Holy crap, we're at the main event already!" Whereas, you know, it was slow for you, and it's nobody's right or wrong for how. You're wrong if you watch like a main event of a G1 Climax and then go watch like a WWE Raw. Like you're not going to enjoy it, but it's you can't always control how you're going to absorb it, and you know, depending on how you feel it flows, that's going to affect your grade or your rating for the show. And you're not wrong if you found it to be average, because there were some slow parts. It's just, for me, I really enjoyed some of the spots, and you know, the commentary wasn't as as bad for me this week. But yeah, that was a little bit of a rant, but you know, what's great for one person isn't great for another.
Well, you know what? It's funny you say that, because this is the internet and I'm right and you're wrong. But all things considered, no, in all seriousness, no, I agree.
Well, I mean, it's all down to taste, which is ultimately, people try to be objective about ratings, but it ultimately is subjective. It's taste.
Yes. I would absolutely agree. I would absolutely agree. So, man, I think that's pretty much the show.
Yeah.
Unlike season 1, episode 7 of Lucha Underground, this episode flew by, in my opinion. I am always glad to be on the air here with you. I'm ready to do it again next week. Hopefully, by the next time we record, the Braves will either have won the next round or be in a favorable position in the next round of the playoffs. We'll see. All things considered, I am Caleb B. I have always been joined by the man known as Maserati. Do not forget, without a shadow of a doubt, that we are the true ace of podcasts. Folks, we are not alone here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. There are plenty of other great shows on here. None as great as ours, of course. But we have on this lineup a bevy of great shows, including 8-Bit Suplex, hosted by Sandy Gaviria and Josh McLaughlin, even though he hates me for some reason. We also have All Things Elite, hosted by Austin S. and my boy, my fellow Okie, Floyd Johnson Jr. Again, that's All Things Elite. That covers AEW, and it does it in a damn good way. We got Get in the Ring, DJ Cooks, great host. Also, he hosts a show called The Great Match Generator, and I believe once or twice you've been on that show, if I'm not mistaken, right, Greg?
I was on the first one.
We've also got Grown Men Watch This Shit. Again, that's James Vanderbeek and Chris Bryan. Two great guys, in my opinion. Another show, New Japan Centric, Keeping It Strong Style, hosted by Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh Smith. A couple of great guys, in my opinion. Loads of great people on this network, if you notice the theme. Also, of course, we got the OGs of Social Suplex. We got One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd, every Sunday on the network. We've also got the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Last but not least, I love those guys. They're my homies from Scotland. Ricky, you are one handsome devil, and you guys put on a great podcast. And always remember to listen to the Grave Consequences podcast, or there will be grave consequences.